Yo, welcome back everybody. Today we have a little bit different of a video. It's patch day. We got patches. They've been not dropping basically all week, but we got the official completely all in one place patch note drop yesterday. So it's time to do a little bit of a run through. In case you guys are Twitch viewers or you're people that are looking for the all full Bofur talks about every last possible angle type of review. The VOD for yesterday's stream, 6.5 hours. 6.5 hours. I'm recording this after finishing the 6.5 hours of patch review is linked below. It is exhaustive. We talk about practically everything related to the patch. It was a ton of fun. Love the discussions, but it's not really fit for YouTube. It's not really fit for the idea that like, oh, this has to fit into a relatively abridged video. So if you were looking for more, check out that VOD. If not, well, we're going to go through things relatively quickly here, but there's a lot of content. Look at this table of contents. The fact that a patch note drop has a table of contents is unprecedented. We have so much stuff here that you need chapters of the patch notes to go dive through it efficiently. That's nuts. Battlegrounds Season 5's here. We got a brand new season. With it comes Anomalies. Anomalies are a new game system, kind of think of like quests or buddies and whatnot have been in the past. Anomalies are effectively Tavern brawls from standard mode, applied each and every game to Battlegrounds. So we'll have a rotating set of overarching rules that each game will feel different than the last, where you have one game where you have crazy custom rules like every player in the game is Panda. Then the following rule will be everybody starts with 10 extra gold. And then the next game, and there's just like this huge pool of all of these different anomalies. A huge pool. Look at this. Look at all of these different anomalies. We can go down through this thing one by one like we did on VOD yesterday, but we'll just highlight some of the more interesting ones. There are 20-some anomalies at launch. They range from little things like, hey, just start the game with 10 gold. That's just a small thing. Okay, maybe some of the smaller ones would be like, start the game on Tavern 2. To overarching huge changes like, this anomaly only has beasts in the game. Beasts and neutrals. 5 times the number of minions of each tribe, the beast tribe, and only 2 times the number of neutrals. Basically everything you're buying is going to be a neutral or a beast in the tavern. Or better yet, the buddies are in the tavern. What does that mean, Bofur? Buddies in the tavern? It's exactly what you think it is. Think about ETC's buddy pool and all the things that you can discover from them. And yeah, those minions are going to be on their corresponding tiers in the tavern. You just re-roll a board on Tavern 3 and then suddenly Cat's buddy is just sitting there staring at you. You're like, you know what? I think I'll take one of those. A cat buddy? Don't mind if I do. Oh, a putricide buddy? Oh, don't mind if I do. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, putricide buddy was a bad example, right? Because putricide buddy's not in the pool. But like, a test buddy, a cat buddy, a jailer buddy, all over the place. And you can just collect all of them you want, put them on the board, make crazy board states. Another few others are pretty interesting. Let's just highlight this one real quick. Fortitude of Khaz'goroth. At the end of your turn, set your right and leftmost minion's health to the higher of the two. So this begs a question. What heroes and what tribes are available for a lot of these different anomalies? And below in the description, I'll have linked a Twitter thread from lead game designer Nicholena from Hearthstone Battlegrounds, who did a massive thread on clarifications for things in the anomaly. It's up on Twitter. I know Twitter. I don't love linking Twitter stuff because you have to be able to log in order to be able to see a lot of this stuff. But you know what? That's where it is. If you want it, it's there. Basically, every single one of these anomalies has custom heroes or custom bands of minions or tribes or whatever it might be. Like, those big little league. Remove the tiers are accessible and discover for a random number generation in Tavern. So what that really means, if you go all the way down into here and like dive down in, like we'll do Little League as an example. Little League does not have Galakron, Phelan, Alexstrasza, Toki, Guff, Cariel, Putricide, ETC Ticketus, the card Boogie Monster, Patient Scout, Faceless Disciple, King Varian, blah, 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 blah. And just for context here, Little League is this quest, which is only taverns 1, 2, 3, and 4 exist. Which really begs the question, why is Boogie Monster banned when Boogie Monster isn't even a 1, 2, 3, or 4 card? But I think that one was a little bit of an oversight. And why is Faceless Disciple banned when it isn't even in the game? Sometimes the Twitter thread just leads to more questions than there are answers. I don't know. It's weird. But there's a lot of clarifications there. If you want to dive down deep into that, I will give you that link in the description. All right, back at it. All heroes are Sire Denathrius. We have Sire Denathrius turn 1 quests for everybody. Or crazy rule set changes like, say, for example, start at 1 gold. Minions cost 1, but sell for 0. Also, upgrading taverns cost less. So, like, what's that leveling curve look like? What does that look like in terms of buying minions? Are you going to stay on Tavern 1 for multiple turns and let the discount trigger multiple times? Are you going to go to 2? Are you going to try to level more aggressively? These are like completely fundamental changes of the way we approach the beginning portion of the game. And all of these different anomalies are available at launch, or all of them from this table. That makes 20 some different anomalies. So game to game, you're just going to get a different rule set over and over and over and over again. Not to mention there are a couple other ones that are pretty crazy. Like I waited till the end to dive into this one because like Tavern 7 exists. Tavern 7, new minions, a whole tavern tier above. Get a little extra armor to allow you to live long enough to see them. And some of these anomalies, this one namely, are offered at rates that are above the other averages. So like you'll see this anomaly, the Secrets of Norganon, more often than you'd see Money Match, for example. They also have said multiple times, and as my chat loves to remind me about 1 million times over the course of the stream, that the offering rate of all of the anomalies, I keep trying to avoid saying quests because it's so in my head, you know, at this point, quests. All the anomalies offering rates will be tuned depending on MMR levels. So to lower MMR lobbies for newer players and whatnot, they may offer some of the more complicated anomalies less often. And likewise, for some of the higher MMR lobbies, some of the more straightforward anomalies would be offered less often, and more often for the more complicated ones, or whatever they deem to be the most fun for that group of players. We have no idea what it really means. We just know that they're going to independently tune the offering rates differently depending on MMR levels. Cool. Hopefully that improves the experience for everybody. I don't really know what it's going to end up being, but we'll play it by ear. So we went down that rabbit hole. We might as well just jump directly into it. Tier 7 minions exist. So why don't we just use the search function, because I don't really want to scroll 1 billion things. Tier 7 minions involve a new hero being added. Thorim Stormlord, choose your champion. Passive at the start of the game, discover a tier 7 minion to get after you spend 65 gold. So think of that basically like a quest on a quest reward. Spend 75 or 65 gold, get a tier 7 minion. You do like the pick it at the beginning of the game like Phelan, and then you get the minion available to you after you complete the quest. This will be the only way that tier 7 minions are available in the vast majority of your lobbies. We're going to see a bunch of tier 7 minions here in 2 seconds. But if you're playing a Start on Tavern 2 Finicky Hourglass lobby, tier 7 minions are not available. They're only available in this specific tavern or anomaly. I keep thinking Tavern Brawl. Even though this one is offered more often than the other ones, it's still only going to be like 20% of your games. So like, don't expect there to always be 7 stars available. Then again, if you're playing Thorim, every single game has a 7-star available to you at the beginning of the game. 7 stars, holy crap. Yeah, there are a lot of them, and they're pretty broken cards. Some of them, like the Urgent Braggart, we've seen before. This exists as a turn 16 Darkmoon prize. You can still get this in the game when you are Ticketus, for example, or you get Ticketus Buddy through ETC. There are ways of getting a hold of this card already, or you can naturally just find it on Tavern 7. Set a minion's health and attack to the highest in the battlefield, make giant minion, right? Likewise, we have what are, I believe there are 14 total 7-star minions. 1 from each tribe, 1 neutral or 3 neutrals, and 1 that is all tribe. King Varian, 7 or tier 7, 9/9. When you sell this, discover 2 6-stars. Basically, like it feels like what Seafood Slinger was in the past. Hey, I tripled my minion. I got this. It's better than getting nothing because I can sell it and get other things instead. Moira Bronzebeard, basically Baron and Bran together in the same card. Papa Bear. A lot of people have seen this because it was teased a long time ago. Death Rattle Beast, when it dies, summon 3 Mama Bears. That's a lot of space to occupy by a couple Mama Bears. But hey, early in the game, a bunch of mama bears is a lot of power. Great tempo. Kind of hard to use late game. Champion of Sargeras, the ultimate Tavern buffer. Plus 10/10 to all minions in the Tavern. Oh, those consumed demons are looking pretty good right now, aren't they? Urzul's eating up big minions. Firebat's gonna feast. Well, I guess Firebat's gonna make everybody else feast, because the famous Firebat doesn't. He don't eat anymore, you know? He doesn't buff himself. Recurring Nightmare. I could go down a 20-minute rant on this one. Or 20-minute discussion, I should say. Recurring Nightmare is a win condition capstone for undead. The ability to effectively add, like, it's almost like a leapfroggers kind of effect to undead. Death Rattle, give a friendly undead minion, Death Rattle, summon a Recurring Nightmare. That is this card, right? So basically, when this thing dies, it gives another minion on the board, not named Recurring Nightmare. That was clarified. Otherwise, there were, you know, pseudo-infinite lines that existed for it. Recurring Nightmare will then respawn periodically when other things die that happen to, you know, receive the Recurring Nightmare Death Rattle. Then in turn, jump to something else and jump to something else. You immediately think Leapfroggers and you immediately think Baron, because if you have Baron, then the first one dies and buffs 2 things. And then when those die, they buff 2 other things. The difference, Leapfroggers got out of control because the stats get huge on individual minions. Recurring Nightmare is limited by board space, right? The upside is that we're not talking about 1/1 buffs here. We're talking about full 5/5 bodies. And you might say, Bofur, 5/5 bodies? That's nothing. Late game, who gives a fuck about a 5/5 body? But what's an undead we're talking about here? Everything in the undead identity is making attack aura big. God forbid you have like 20 attack aura or more, because each one of those Recurring Nightmares is a nasty amount of power. And when you're just having these things die and refill the board over and over again with undead with a bunch of attack, it gets to be a lot of stats very quickly. Hide a Baron, and this card is absolutely nasty. Captain Sanders, tier 7 pirate, make a minion golden. A friendly minion golden. Note that it doesn't say make a friendly pirate golden. Could be anything. Even a boat. Oh, nope, sorry, boat's not in the game. Could be anything. But make a friendly minion golden is a critically powerful effect, right? It's almost like the olden days where you said, oh, I missed on my triple, I got a seafood slinger, let's target something else. Now note it is only friendly minions, but it gives you redundancy. When you miss on your primary objective, getting a golden minion on your board can be a pretty good consolation prize. In some unique scenarios, like Trumpeter boards or Tethys boards, making a minion on your board golden may be better than every 7-star in that game, for that matter. So yeah, pretty damn happy with the idea of having multiple avenues to play into 7-stars, even if you don't hit the primary thing, like say I'm looking for a Murloc. Sometimes just Golding Brand on your board is just going to be better than the Murloc. Tide Oracle Morgul, tier 7 Murloc, 1 attack, 10 health, poisonous. You read that right. You read it just fine. Poisonous, not venomous. Poisonous Murloc, when this attacks and kills a minion, give its maximum stats to a minion in your hand. Kill a 20/20 minion on their board, add a 20/20 buff to your hand. Yeah, that snowballs. That gets big. You get to make bigger and bigger minions in your board, or in your hand, and you get to poison something in the process. That's pretty good. Scaling and tempo. Granite Guardian, tier 7 elemental, 1 attack, 17 health, taunt. Whenever a minion is attacked, this minion is attacked, reduce the attacker's health to 1. So basically, think of it like this. Big minion attacks into your taunt. Effect goes off. Its health gets set to 1, it attacks it. Granite Guardian deals damage to the minion. As long as the Granite Guardian has 1 attack or more, kill the minion that attacks into it. You can Divine Shield the Granite Guardian. You could try to protect it in any variety of manner, but if it attacks, it doesn't get the effect. So oftentimes a 2-for-1 type of effect, oftentimes a good recipient of like Divine Shielding and other effects. Probably not as built around as some of the other cards, but still a pretty strong tempo card. Sea Witch Zarjira. 4/5 Naga. Spellcraft, choose a different minion in the tavern, get a copy of it. Okay, that seems real good. Hey, I get to target something in the tavern, and now I can buy it and duplicate it. So like, hey, it's an Athissa, that's 2 Athissas. Hey, that's a Tethys. Now I have 2 Tethys. We don't even have to just think Naga. We can think all kinds of minions that exist out there. Shit, Here, just use this on Tethys, freeze it, use it again the next turn, then buy the Tethys. You're nearly infinite. These kind of cards are not balanced. They're not remotely balanced. They're tier 7s for a reason. They get crazy value and recurring value at that for a lot of them. Obsidian Ravager, Dragon, 4/4 tier 7. Whenever this attacks, deal damage equal to its attack to the target and an adjacent minion. So like, remember Prester's Pyrospawn? It dealt 3 damage to a minion, then attacked it? Yeah, super good at going through like Mechrel boards, killing Divine Shield minions, all that kind of stuff. This is like the Capstone Dragon. It gets to buff it to 100. Then it does 100 damage to its primary target, cleaves 100 damage into an adjacent target, and then also attacks with its 100 body. That's crazy. That's a ton of power. And is capable of shutting down a lot of compositions. Then again, it could also just blow up a Leroy and die. You know, 'tis the life. Sometimes there are counter cards to you. The Boom Mobile. I'm pretty sure that this card and the Papa Bear are the ones that I have very, very, very different takes than what I've seen on the internet on. I think Papa Bear is relatively weak, and the board space limitations and how clunky it is for Beast Board just makes it relatively bad for the later portions of the game. And in the opposite vein, Boom Mobile is absurd. Getting this card at a reasonable time in the game is 4 instances of 12 damage on a minion that becomes a permanent minion on your board. It is a magnetic reborn Divine Shield, and then just ignore the other 2 words. Taunt Windfury. If it's just a reborn Divine Shield 12/12, that is 12/12 or 12 damage, takes off the shield, a 12/12 body that attacks, then a reborn Divine Shielded 12/1. That's nuts. God forbid you have like a Foe Reaper or something on the board and you can just reborn Divine Shield Windfury that Foe Reaper. This card is crazy. Not to mention the fact that it's a magnetic, so even if you don't have open board space, you can still use this card to buff other things. Works with all other magnetic effects as well. It's like, if you see this card, if you're like Thorim, who gets to choose their minion at the beginning of the game, Thorim loves this card. It's like surefire mid-game victory. I'm going to be the biggest board in the middle of this game. Yeah, it doesn't win the lobby by itself, but I'm going to be a force from like turn 9 till turn 12. The Sanguini champion over here. I love all of the pronunciation stuff around this. The Sanguinini champion? Yeah, I think that's how it's pronounced. 9 health or 9 attack, 3 health, battle cry, death rattle. Blood gems give an extra 1/1 in this game. Yeah, maybe I don't see where this is that great. Maybe I'm underselling it, but this seems like trash. Maybe it's just that Quillbore are good enough on their own and having an additional thing that makes it slightly better. But the death rattle effect on this is barely better than Prickly Piper. The battle cry effect is barely better than the battle cry 3-star. They're just like 3-star effects recurring. Don't get me wrong. Blood gem scaling is good. But on tier 7, if you're not getting this super early, then how the hell are you keeping this on your board? I don't know. I'm not a believer. Oh no! Amalgadon's back! For each different minion type you control, randomly adapt. PTSD. Then again, we don't have Seafood Slinger anymore. We don't have Prester's Pyrospawn. We don't have the enabling cards that really broke Amalgadon. It's only in the tier 7 lobbies. And on top of that, there's only 5 total in the pool. There are only 5 7-stars max. Without the ability to gold them with like Seafood Slinger, you're not going to have boards full of Amalgadons. Don't fear Amalgadons here. There's not that many of them. There's a million other things that are happening with the minion pool. We'll get to that in a second. Long story short, 7 stars, they're going to be in for a lot of these anomalies. For this anomaly is offered way more often than the other ones. I believe they said 5 times offering rate on it. They did say 5 times offering rate. So you're going to see it in like 20% of your lobbies initially. Additionally, over the course of the entirety of this 4-month season, we're going to start out with 20-ish anomalies. All of the ones that are above here. There are going to be additional anomalies added each week. Every week, a new anomaly is added, and that new anomaly will be offered at an increased rate for that week that is brand new. Bunch of these other ones, I mean, we can dive down into these deep. Some of them are chaotic, like everything's on fire, appropriately named. This is fine. At the start of the game, take 30 damage. So basically your hero drops to like one-shot level. Whenever a hero dies, you regain some health. Better not play low tempo. Better not die on turn 1. Theoretically, you could die turn 1 combat. Theoretically, it's possible. Play a hero like Gallywix with 5 armor, so you start at 5 health and fight Lich King or Terran with the wrong minion with Panther, and you have the wrong minion to match up against them. Both of them are capable of killing you turn 1. Yay, that was a fun lobby. I died on turn 1. Dying on turn 2, 3, 4, very possible. All right, moving on. Moving on, we got ourselves a couple hero changes. Curiel taking a little bit of a nerf, going from 3 units being buffed from the default hero power to 2 units being buffed, which is, you know, over time, a pretty substantial amount of stats. Kurtrus taking what is a buff and a nerf at the same time. The hero power now reads once per turn after buying 3 minions instead of 4. Get a plain copy of one of them, but no longer discovers. So instead of getting 4 minions and discovering from 3 out of the 4 to get the minion that you're looking for to get a second copy of it, you now can get it much easier with only buying 3 minions, but you get one of the minions randomly, which is really, really, really good early in the game where you didn't have enough gold to get the 4 minions, and a lot weaker in the later portions of the game where you're searching for one specific minion that you wanted to discover, right? So like buff and a nerf, pretty substantial nerf in the later portions of the game, but then again, Kurtrus was a top tier hero, so probably somewhat justified. New minions, Oozling Gladiator, tier 2, 1 attack, 2 health, Battlecry, get 2 slimy shields that are spells that give a 1/1 buff and taunt. So yeah, that's nuts. I don't have much to say about this. For a 2-star, it's a 3/4 body. You can buff whatever minion you want. It gives taunt synergies, allows you later flexibility to taunt whatever you're looking for as a cyclable minion. And then on top of that, it gives you a card that on Tavern 2 gives you gold flexibility. If you don't find that economy opener, you still need to level to 2. You could always just cycle the Oozling through and buy another minion and still keep that 2/2 buff. It's kind of like Sunbacon in that way, but taunt attached to it. Pretty great across the board. And for a 2-star, that's a pretty flexible ability. Iron Groundskeeper, tier 3, 5, 6, big body for a neutral minion. I know there were a lot of people that were pretty excited about this effect. Personally, I don't think untaunting a minion is great design space to be opened up for the game because it closes a lot of doors in the process. A lot of the big minions in this game have had to be taunted historically to make them not ridiculously OP. Think about Gar back in the day. Think about Urzul in Demon Meta. Think about Upbeat Upstart today. The reason they aren't completely broken cards is because they're very susceptible to dying the poison and Leroy and whatever. If you're going to add a card like this to the game, it's cool design space opened up because you can make taunted minions a lot better. You can Divine Shield taunt a Foe Reaper and then untaunt it, for example. But you have to realize that making minions that much better makes avenues that are really abusable. So certain cards have kind of got to go. And in that spirit, Upbeat Upstart, removed from the game. Big taunt minions, generally speaking, have been made a little bit weaker. New poisons have been added and later affecting big like poison venomous type minions have been added to take their place. We're going to get big stats. We're going to get big taunts. We can untaunt some of those big minions, but we also gave tools to counter it. So credit where credit's due. Looks like Blizzard saw this one through, said, all right, cool effect to add to the game, but we also have to hedge to make sure it's not OP. Living Constellation, tier 3, Battlecry minion 4/2, give a 1/1 for each minion type that you control. Just a good, solid Battlecry minion for the middle of the game. Likewise, Fairy Tale Caroler, 2/4, Battlecry. If you lost your last combat, give your minions plus 2/1. Kind of like Sylvanas hero power. Kind of like, the not Felemental, whatever the demon's name is that gives 2/1 when your hero's taking damage that turn. Another synergy for Bran, in combination with the fact that Murlocs are getting a lot of Battlecry synergies to make Bran better again. These kind of cards existing in the mid game as neutrals is just going to make Bran a much, much better card to find. Flying Feather Mane, tier 3 beast. 5 attack, 5 health. After a friendly beast dies, summon this from your hand. Huh? I'm just going to sip my tea. What? Who designed this? So you're telling me as long as I have a beast, I have a free minion being spawned from my hand? That's nuts. Ignore the Mama Bear, Banana Slam, or whatever synergy that you're looking for. Just the fact that you can buy this thing up on Tavern 3 and have an extra effective board slot mid-game is crazy. Oh, but at least it has a really hard stipulation to fulfill. Have a beast. Okay. Let's be real here. This is nuts. This is too much, right? You shouldn't have a 5/5 extra body off board, not taking a board space on Tavern 3. All right, this one's busted. This needs nerf. Nerf it immediately. Nerf it right now. Nearzal, the tier 6 beast. The big temple god himself. The big ox. Whenever this attacks, it's a capstone minion for a beast, right? Whenever this attacks, deals damage equal to its attack to another random enemy minion. Okay. Gigantic beast has a pseudo cleave. It can snipe things that aren't adjacent to the taunt. It makes it so that it's a much better card against things like Leroy, which typically are counters for cleaves, or sniping barons and whatnot that are harder to protect because you can just get lucky and snipe them. Really, this card should probably just read, attack the worst possible minion on your opponent's board with that effect, and also have your baron get sniped if this minion's on their board, but you know how it works. The cleaves are frustrating, the random effects are frustrating, but this card is good. It's good, ignoring all the times you get unlucky. That's a really solid in-game beast, isn't it? Gladiator, replacing the Naga Brute from Tavern 3. Now, noteworthy, there are like 48 cards being removed from the game. We'll go through that here in a second, but a lot of these cards are basically substitutions to improve or nerf tribe synergies in the middle of the game. Brute's gone, which we used to be the 4/5 or 5/4, that whatever the stat line was. Naga, that whenever you play a spell, gain a 1/1. We now have whenever you cast a spell, gain 1 attack, but the minion has Divine Shield. Mid-game, permanent Divine Shield in Naga. That's a nice card. Makes a Thissa way better. Makes Critter Wrangler way better. The ability to build into something that isn't the Zesty Coomer line as the only Naga board, very welcome. Dagger Spine Thresher, 3/5. Whenever you cast a spell, gain Divine Shield, Wind Fury, or Venomous. Once again, more Divine Shield in Naga. Stats being given to other minions, good. The ability to get random Divine Shields or random Venomous, real solid. Naga going to get some tools that make them somewhat viable to play outside of a meme comp. Bristleback Brute, or Bristleback Brute, where am I? Bristleback Bookie, tier 2 Quilboar. Noteworthy, the Gem Splitter was removed, and Prophet of the Boar have been removed for Blood Gem generation. So in their place, we're getting Briarback Bookie. I can't read, guys. If you have any unspent gold at the end of your turn, gain 2 Blood Gems. Okay, 1 gold, 2 Blood Gems, awkward leveling curves. Situationally useful. Pretty solid card. Mercules, tier 2 Murloc, 5 attack, 2 health. Whenever this minion attacks, give a minion in your hand plus 2/2. All right, let me just sip my tea again. What the fuck? Who is doing this? Who is designing these cards? What did we say like last time we did patch notes? And the time before, and the time before that, and the time before that, when we saw Scourfin as a card. Early Tavern tier scaling is unhealthy for this game. This is also a super abusable card. Vol'jin, Mutinous, being able to build giant Mercules mid-game and then allow it to trade multiple minions to then make a bigger minion that you swap in the Mercules to make a bigger minion. Oh my god. It's ridiculous. This is a ton of stats in the form of a 2-star. Yeah, most of the time this is just like, hey, it's a 5/2 that kills one thing and gives a 2/2 buff. But abusable cards on low Tavern tiers have a habit of getting out of control. Let's just call it that. I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing take a pretty substantial nerf, or at least go to Tavern 3. Murky! Now this is the exciting part. Right here, Murky has entered the Battlegrounds. We now have a Capstone Murloc that synergizes with Bran once again. Battle Cry, give a friendly Murloc 1/1. Oh, it doesn't sound very good. Improved by every Battle Cry minion you've played this game. Every Battle Cry remembered over the course of the game. Play a bunch of Primal Fins, play a bunch of buffs, whatever it might be. Get yourself the 6. Get a couple decent Murlocs on the board. Get the Bran, and then just cycle. Get the Primal Fin Discovers into Murkies, into triples, into Murkies, into stats on stats on stats. And there's more coming. Murkles are going to get a very fresh look outside of just being a clown car take a million death rattles, get a bunch of things spawned from base skill. Big Murlocs are back on the menu. Dragons are getting a massive, massive overhaul. Basically, the core of dragons has been gutted. No more Nadina, no Promo, no Terracosa, no Drakosith. So the Rylak line for Kalecgos is gone. The late game Nadina tech, gone. The Promo Terracosa line, gone. We got a fresh dragon look here. Razorgore is noteworthy of coming back, or is coming back. I should just word it straightforward. So that gives you a new 5-star. Also, we have this 3-star time saver. If you have any unspent gold in the middle of the game, this sells for 2 more. So basically, whenever you float gold, you're capable of floating and keeping more gold. Just another way to be gold efficient for future turns. Hunter-Gatherer, or Hunter of Gatherers. Tier 5 dragon, 3 attack, 6 health. After this gains attack, your minions gain 1 health. Noteworthy to say that this doesn't say dragons. So like menagerie boards, this thing would work pretty well with. Now, are menagerie boards really common? Not really. What about dragon boards? Well, this thing looks like it immediately synergizes with Kalecgos. It's like a way better version of Whelp Smuggler. It's tribal and dragon. It has the ability to be buffed itself. And then on top of that, will synergize with Kalecgos buffs. Also worth noting that it would synergize well with like blood gems, with individual buffs, being able to buff this thing and then buff the entire board. Quillbore boards with like pseudo menagerie stuff with this on the board, like Agam, for example, could make some pretty crazy stuff. This looks like a pretty interesting card to synergize and bridge gaps between tribes. And Warpwing, our new keystone final piece of the dragon puzzle. Warpwing, immune while attacking. Big dragon on board, capable of being scaled through a variety of methods. And hey, if you can attack with it or attack with it multiple times, it can trade minions without taking any damage, which is pretty crazy. Pretty crazy effect to exist in BGs. We don't have a lot of immune, typically. All right, elementals. Elementals are getting some fun redesign. Elementals are going heavy on the rerolls. No more Molten Rock, but instead in its place we have Bejeweled Duelist, tier 2, 3/4, taunt. Whenever you refresh, gain a health, instead of, Molten Rock used to be whenever you played an elemental, gain a health. Much more consistent in the middle of the game. Sparkling, tier 3, 5/2, Battlecry, give your other minions 1/1. It's not really elemental stuff. It fits with elementals, but also fits with brand synergies and also just good mid-game tech. A good mid-game stat minion. Very solid. Emergent Flame. Here's your reroll synergy. 5/3 Battlecry on Tavern 4. Give an elemental 1/1 upgrades each time you refresh this turn. Think about Recycling Wraith. Think about cycling a bunch of minions. Especially when you get in the later stages where you're getting Golden Recycling Wraith, you're cycling a bunch of stuff, whether it's for Nomi, for Rock, for whatever. Trumpets. This right here is going to be a really cool card to find because it's going to give you bunches and bunches of stats. Turn after turn after turn as you find them. Basically way better Smogger in the later stages of the game. Typically a little worse than Smogger in the early portions. Carbonic Copy. A 5-star elemental that's added. We no longer have Magma Lock, which is a pretty substantial nerf to elementals. But hey, we now have a new recipient for all of these buffs. A good card to buff and then keep an open board space. So Emergent Flame has a really good primary target to buff. If you buff this thing up huge, then you get 2 huge minions. Now, well, you have to play down a minion, so it's kind of like the whole splitting image strats or evil twin, in the sense that, like, while there is an upside, there's also a downside. Playing 6 minions has its problems, namely that you didn't have a 7th minion. But hey, a lot of boards, you're better off having another copy of this thing than having that 7th minion. Inventomatic, tier 2 mech. We'll go back to elementals here in a second with a couple of the minion changes. But mech, tier 2, 2/3 attack. Whenever you magnetize a minion, give it a 1/1. Nothing to write home about here, but it is a 2-star minion, enabling magnetics. Good synergy with mechs. Nothing crazy. Adaptable Barricade, tier 5 mech. 12 attack, 1 health, taunt. Whenever this is attacked, shift its stats to survive with 1 health. So basically, as long as the attack is above 0, it can always take some attack away and move it over to health to stay alive. This is a really hard card to write in text and actually make sense with. So just take it as you can spend health to stay alive, or you can spend attack to stay alive. If this thing takes a combined amount of damage that's higher than the health plus attack that's left, minion dies. Excess health in the form of attack. Relentless Sentry. This is my sleeper card. This is the card that I think is the most busted in this patch. Or maybe not the most busted, but like the one that people aren't really giving enough credit to. Tier 3 Undead, 5 attack, 1 health, Avenge 4, Taunt and Gain Taunt and Reborn. TLDR. This card has the ability to potentially regain Reborn multiple times per combat and is an undead minion. Idea what you do with this? Put 1, maybe 2 Relentless Sentries at the back of your composition. Just leave them in position 6 and 7. Put a bunch of Death Rattle minions up front. Those minions die. 4 of them die. You trigger that Avenge on the Relentless Sentry. It pops its head up and goes, I have Taunt and Reborn now. It gets smacked. It pops back down. No longer has Taunt nor Reborn. Other Relentless Sentry, if you have 2 of them, also sitting there waiting. Now your other little minions die at the front of the composition and repeat the cycle over and over again. You might say, hey, Bofur, that doesn't seem that great. It's only a 5 attack minion. But undead have a little bit of a tendency to build big attack auras, and having recurring over and over and over again Taunt Reborns is pretty solid, right? Allows you to reliably have your minions die in the right order on your board, gives you protection for cards like Baron, gives you the ability to capitalize on attack aura many times, and God forbid there's a good way to scale attack aura. See this in 1 second. Of course, I mean Sore Loser. Just kidding. Sore Loser is a 1/4. Your undead have attack equal to your Tavern tier. Okay, that's kind of nice. Mid-game tempo in the middle of the game. 3, 4, 5 extra attack while you get online. And then sell it off the board, right? I think it might be the Champion of Primus that could be the attack scaling method over here. 1 attack, 8 health, Avenge 2. Avenge 2! Alright, I gotta sip on my tea again. Gotta calm down. Gotta calm down, Bofur. You gotta calm down. You're going to give yourself a heart attack. Your undead have 1 attack gain or +1 attack for the rest of the game. Avenge 2! How many minions die on undead boards? Just get this thing mid-game. It's like way better than pre-nerf a noob. And a noob needed nerfed. It got half of the amount of attack scaling. This thing could proc 4, 5, 6, 7 times in a combat from 1 5-star. We're talking about crazy attack scaling. We're talking about like Rylek level attack scaling in the form of a 5-star for undead who really don't need help. Undead are really very solid already. God forbid you give them a way to repeatedly scale attack on boards that are going to be popping up a ton of minions with all the Reborns and Death Rattles and everything else that exists already. Regardless, this better be Avenge 4 very quickly. At least Avenge 3. Avenge 2 is just silly. It's just silly. This is way too good. Surf and Surf. 1 attack, 1 health, spellcraft, give a minion Death Rattle, summon 2/2 crab. So, yeah. Lava Lurker's gonna spawn a lot of crabs in this meta now, isn't it? It's a 1-star. It's replacing Mini Myrmidon. It gives you a better effect, basically. An easier cyclable card if you try to go 2-on-2 and you need to sell and double buy. But if you find Lava Lurker early, it's going to be a clown car of 2/2s popping out of it when it dies. Over and over and over again. Here's another Death Rattle. Here's another Death Rattle. Really nice for synergies for Death Rattle tribes. Really nice for winning early combats. Just good in general. Seaborn Summoner. Tier 2. Naga Elemental Duo Tribe. 2 attack, 4 health. Spellcraft, choose a minion. Add a minion of its own type to the Tavern. Okay. So like relatively cheap early in the game. 2/4 stat line, has the ability to look for a specific type of card. Nice for consistency. Late game, a cyclable minion. Spellcraft synergy with things like Athissa. Don't laugh at Athissa. Game slows down in quest meta. We might have some Athissa enabling here. And then the ability to potentially cycle for cards like Elementals and the Elemental boards. You can see why it's good, right? The 2 tribes that like to cycle cards have the ability to fish for more of those cards. Withered Spell or Spearhide. 3-star Quillbore Undead, 2/2 Reborn, Death Rattle, gain a blood gem. So basically generate 2 blood gems on 2/2 bodies, gain 2 blood gems per turn, start scaling, strong mid-game minion. Kind of weak the first turn, after that it's pretty strong. Dreadbeard, tier 3 Demon Pirate, 4 attack, 4 health, and at the end of your turn deal 1 damage to your hero and get a gold coin. Didn't we just have this minion? Wasn't he just a pirate? Didn't he just need a partner pirate and he didn't even deal damage to us? I guess there's demon synergy. Demons are actually getting some decent tools to be able to be a little bit stronger Yeah, might be able to scale some of those minions. We got Floating Watcher back, and Wrathweaver's going to be more common in the middle of the game. But it really feels like we just downgraded over here. I can have a pirate on the board. I don't need to take damage. I just want my coin. Peckish Feldrake, tier 4 Demon Dragon. 0 attack, 1 health. Oh, look, it's so tiny. Battle Cry, consume 3 minions in the tavern to gain their stats. Huh? That's nuts! That's crazy! The average minion in a tier 4 tavern is almost a 3/4. So you're getting like a 9/12 buff on average. Bro! That's a big mid-game minion. God forbid you triple this thing with just average tavern strengths with no buffs from anything else. And it's like a 40/50. Now, don't get me wrong, demons are relatively weak. Having a couple demon enablers and then another battle cry dragon is pretty cool. Tripling this thing on a Calicos board is a pretty big stat line and all that kind of stuff too. In general, kind of the two tribes that need some help, and this is a very strong mid-game card to help them out. Manaroth. 1 attack, 10 health, venomous. At the very least, it's a venomous minion. After this minion kills and survives, gain its maximum stats. Well, good luck surviving. If it's a big minion whose stats are worth stealing, like say an Urzul, you could just steal all the stats of an Urzul. That's its like ideal scenario. Big attack, big stat taunt. You're gonna need to make this thing's health incredibly high, or give it a divine shield. This thing paired with like a glow scale could be pretty scary pretty quick. It venoms something and then it steals all its stats and then can attack something else. Manaroth, generally speaking, is probably a mid-game undead venom minion, which we all know is good, right? We just had that. We just had that in the game. They removed it. The Murloc undead 4-star venomous. This is just another way of getting an undead venom minion, and you could reborn it and, you know, multiple minions dying to it. Very strong card for late game poison scam options. Mechanized Gift Horse, tier 5 mech beast, 4 attack, 4 health. Death Rattle summons 2 mech horses, which are also mechs and beasts. And that summon a Death Rattle 1/1 mech horse, which is also a mech and a beast. Synergy with resets on Deflectobot, synergies with like Mama Bear and Banana Slamma, synergies with Octosari. Just a very strong mid-game clown car of a bunch of little attack minions. But hey, at the very least, this thing is 1 body, it's a 4/4, 2 bodies, a 2/2, and 2 bodies that are 1/1. So like, not a bad stat line, even that by itself, even without synergies. Transmuted Bramble Witch, tier 5 elemental Quillbore, 4/4. When this attacks, set the defender's stats to 3/3. Hey guys, you got your pseudo silence you've been asking for ages. Kind of a cool late game card, can shrink down a minion that's a problematic taunt or big minion. Garbage minion to be attacked into with though, so like you're going to want to play this early in a composition. Kind of harkening back or circling back to that conversation on why untaunting minions changes design space. This card really good at countering taunted minions. This card is really bad at countering minions that aren't taunted. Because if you try to put this late in the composition, it has a habit of just getting attacked and having no battle or no text on its card when it gets attacked into. It's kind of like why Leroy is a healthy card to deal with big stat taunts, and why big stats, generally speaking in the history of this game, have been acceptable on big taunts. But if you can remove a taunt, it becomes a lot scarier, right? Because it's a lot easier to protect minions that don't have taunt on the board. We'll see. Very good tech card and very strong late game anyway. Like a lot of boards where you pick up a Leroy, you can just pick up a Bramble Witch in the same scenario and get the same kind of value from it. Relentless Murghul. All right, get it out of your system, chat. The PTSD is going to come back. Are you afraid of spiders? Do the spooters scare you? Do you still have PTSD from Reborn My Exta? Because here it comes again. Venomous Avenge 4 Gain Reborn. Put this minion a little bit later in your composition, let 4 things die. It's a double reborn minion. If you could somehow get it to get reborn, then die, then see 4 more things to die, it could get reborn an additional time. Good luck. Outside of using external cards on the board, say like, for example, having a reborn given to it or something, getting more than like a 3-for-1 or 2-for-1 is super, super, super hard. If you use other cards to enable it, yeah, you can get like 3-for-2 trades off of it. Just a really, really strong card though, right? Reborn, Venomous, good. Not much more we need to say about that, right? Reborn, Venomous, good in this game. When big stats are good, Venomous is good. Double Venomous is even better. All right. Jumping past the tier 7s, we got ourselves a bunch of minion pool changes. 49 minions, as we mentioned before, have been removed. Key ones including a lot of the Rylak enablers like Felemental, like General Drakaseth for Dragon generation, like Battlemaster for Rylak, Divine Shield removed from Elementals, the core Dragon components removed from the game. What else? Upbeat Upstart is gone. Magma Lock is gone. There's a lot of cards here. We're not going to name every last one of them. And in their place are returning Reef Explorer, Treasure Seeker Release. Love these two cards. Couldn't be happier. I'm a huge Reef Explorer fan. When Bran is good, it makes the game fun. And Reef Explorer is a very, very good card for Bran. In case you don't remember, Reef Explorer is a 4-star 3/3 that discovers a Battlecry minion. Battlecry, discover a Battlecry minion. So basically, you play the card, and then you get more Battlecry cards. Reef Explorer. Honestly, I love the card so much, I'm just going to bring it up on stream. I'm just going to bring it up on stream for you guys. Right here. Look at that. It's so good. I love this card. Discover a Battlecry or a minion of a type you don't control. I said Battlecry, didn't I? Bofur, why do you not know the card? Okay, sometimes I'm dumb. I was Googling it at the same time and said dumb thing. Battlecry, discover a minion of a type you don't control. Still, a Battlecry minion that discovers more minions that benefit from Battlecry effects. It oftentimes turns into Battlecries and the Battlecries with Bran on the board. You know, you're remembering the optimistic times, the happy times, the good days. Regardless, other changes, minions coming back. Flat Tusk is back for Kulbor. Floating Watcher for demons. Razorgore for dragons. Party Elemental is back. Bigger, stronger, and smarter than ever. We'll get to that in a second. Banner Boar coming back for Blood Gem generation. Nightmare Amalgam replacing Mistake. This is a 3-star, basically all tribe minion. And a few others in the pool as well. Eternal Summoner took a pretty hefty nerf here. Death Rattle for the golden version is now in a golden Eternal Knight instead of 2 copies of an Eternal Knight. I know that I got in a bit of a disagreement with my own Twitch chat, my peoples, on whether or not this is a substantial nerf. A lot of people like to hearken the attention to the idea that, like, you oftentimes clog your boards and Golden Eternal Summoner is so hard to play with Baron. But in most cases, the downside of not getting the Reborn on the Eternal Summoner was outweighed by the fact that, like, you just get really good value from just the Golden Eternal Summoner once. And on top of that, the times that you can build around it, it was absurdly good as a win condition. Stealth exists as a mechanic. Taunt exists as a mechanic. You could very oftentimes get the Reborn anyway. And then on top of all of that, you don't always have Baron on the final board. So you can keep the Golden Eternal Summoner and not have the Baron. You could build boards that benefited way more from having this effect than having this effect. That being said, we just watched as, like, all of those cool new Undead tools were added to the game, and Undead is already a pretty powerful tribe. Taking a small nerf on Eternal Summoner is probably a good thing. So, like, yeah, while I think it is a pretty substantial nerf, it was probably a warranted nerf. Honcho! You might be asking, Bofur, why the hell haven't they removed this card yet? Honcho has no place in this game. Murlocs are a Death Rattle tribe. Not anymore. Remember? We got a new 6-star that benefits from playing cyclable Murlocs and Battlecries, and there's more to come. More buffs to Murlocs and Battlecry effects. Honcho on the board gives additional effects when you cycle all the Murlocs. It can now buff itself as well, which is cool because, you know, less likelihood of buffing the cycle spot. You can keep this thing around for longer. Begurgle now is a 2/3 buff instead of a 2/2 buff. It does lose its Death Rattle, but how often are you keeping a Begurgle on the board to gain the Death Rattle effect anyway? Let's be real. Most of the time when you get into late stages and you play Murgles, you're not keeping on the board anyway. And young Murkai, back to his happy place. Back to his pre-nerf place of acting like a decent 4-star. I mean, acting like better than Rylak. I mean, being a good 6-star. Man, was it sad that Rylak was better than the 6-star Murloc. We're over here with Murkai only triggering one thing to its left. It now triggers both its left and right minion. And goes back to being at least playable. Get those Primal Fins, get those Brands, put them on the board, generate a handful of Murlocs, even play some Honchos if you want, and then go cycling and looking for those beautiful, beautiful Murkies at the end for those plus like 50 plus 100 buffs. Once you get all those cards cycled, you can see where the Battlecry Murloc line's going. Murkai, Brand, Primal Fin on the board, tech cards to go along with it, and then try to get as many Murkies as possible. It's going to be a good time. Party Elemental. That's a lot of text right there. I got you covered, guys. Party Elemental is now way better than it was in the past. Party Elemental is now a 3-star. It buffs 1/2 instead of 1/1, but it only triggers 1 buff. You might say, Bofur, that doesn't sound that much better. It's a 3-star. The stat line is and that buff is actually smaller, but it doesn't buff the cycle spot anymore. You can play Party Elemental and gain good value from it and not have to play a bunch of wide elementals. You can now just play Party Elemental with the newly buffed 3-star recycling rate that happened in the last patch. And you've got yourself the core of what is turning into an APM Elemental board. If you can stabilize off of that on 3 and then have the ability to triple in multiple times in the middle of the game because you're getting all those free rerolls, Trumpets are right around the corner. Nomi's right around the corner. Okay, mostly Trumpets right around the corner. Let's be real. Nomi, Keck, W. But if you can get a line that's stable and has the ability to get into Trumpets early, gets scary. There's going to be a lot of games with these new anomalies and custom rules that APM Elementals is just king. You're just going to get a really quick line into it, benefit from the anomaly, and just blow out lobbies. Wildfire Elemental. Wild Elemental. Can't speak. Not a functional change. Card text change is pretty much the exact same card. Lava Lurker got a nice low quality of life buff because we got 2 new Spellcraft minions that do not add permanent value to Lava Lurker. So they just made it so that those 2 spells, when used on Lava Lurker, do not trigger the actual card text. So like the card that gives you a copy of a minion of a tribe, if used in the Tavern, won't trigger the Lava Lurker effect, so you could still use a stat on it at the end of the turn or something. Or the new 7-star, which creates a copy of a minion, wouldn't disable that on the same turn that you generate the copy of it. Just quality of life. Then you can use that spell at the end. Vanderborg comes back as a 4-star, as a 3/5 body. It got bigger. Remember, this was removed because Quillbore were just too consistent, right? Too good in quest meta, and on top of that, had way too much blood gem generation. Gutting Gem Splitter and Prophet of the Boar has left room for new blood gem generation. Vanderborg is going to fill that gap. And piloted Whirlotron Sneed's Buddy, no longer completely busted. Rylek, Snicker Snack basically just made this incredibly strong, right? It's exponential scaling. You have the ability to trigger on itself before it has been disabled. It can only trigger on other minions on the board. Before, you were capable of basically saying, hey, I'm going to double and double and double and double the effect that's stored into the Whirlotron. Now you got to just take individual buffs and add it to it, as it was intended. At last but not least, armor tiers have been updated. A few that are different between lower MMR ranges and higher MMR ranges. Battlegrounds track has been reset. Once again, that means that you need to buy the Tavern Pass to have 4 heroes if you have purchased that before or want to purchase it again. And that's it. That's it, guys. I'm not doing standard stuff. Battleground stuff. That's it. All of this comes out on Tuesday. And in case you didn't hear in the middle of this where I said it multiple times, because, you know, a lot of people will flip through these videos and go to exactly what section they're looking for. If you want any additional information or any additional discussion on any of these anomalies, every one of the cards, all of the possible theory crafting that we could do, we did a 6.5-hour stream on just this, the anomalies, and then basically like the 7-star minions and the minion changes on Twitch, linked below the video here. There's also 2 other streams that have happened earlier in the week when they introduced some of the newly changed minions, and our discussions for those are in those as well. Those videos, I will link all of them below in case you guys are curious. They're not really, you know, consolidated down to an hour. I made it as quick as I could here to get through all of this information. There's a ton here, but there's probably a good 10 hours worth of patch review that has been done this week on stream if you guys are looking for more information. All right, guys, take care. Have a great night and peace.